Hi guys, Pikachu Hunter here, and today I am bringing you a Delphox Storm deck analysis, or whatever. Won't use like the other comment in the comment section below to what I should name the series, because I generally can't think of a name. Anyway, just move this off over here to the side. Starting off, we have 4 Delphoxes from Fate's Collide. It has the attacks Flickering Flames, which does 40 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. We don't really use this first attack at all, so it's kind of useless. Love the hollow. And its main attack, which is what we're going to be using, is Storm for 3 colorless energy. It does 20 damage times the amount of energy on both sides of the field. All Pokemon in play. So 2 for 60 damage with your own energy. Say you've got all 4 Delphoxes out in the field. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 204 damage you'll be doing. 240 damage, sorry, you'll be doing. With all 4 out in the field. But you don't really have that happen because it's to the point where it's impossible with it being an evolution deck. But yeah, we run 4 the Delphox. In fact, I'll put them up here. There we go. So 4 Delphox. Next up to go with Delphox is Braixen. Here's stage 1. With the attack Destructive Flame, which does 20 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, discard energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Not a bad attack. It's a shame we can't use it. And Crackling Ribbon does 30. Now we can use Crackling Ribbon, but again, it's for literally those scenarios where it's a no choice. But yeah, run 2 of the Braixen. Just there. There we go. And finally, we've run 2 different Fennekins. We've run this Fennekin with Invite Out. Flip a coin. If heads, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon. Sounds familiar. Sounds like Lysander in my eyes. Just in this case, it's a flip. But yeah. We play 2 of each Fennekin, mainly because I like the difference, and it confuses the opponents sometimes with why there's 2 different ones, but yeah. We have Will-O-Wisp for 10 damage, again can't use it, and we also have the attack Tail Whip. This is a good one. Flip a coin. If as a defending Pokemon cannot attack during the opponent's next turn. Now there is ways around it, but mainly that's why there is 2. So we can use, so basically we have 4 forms of Lysander, but bear in mind 2 of them are a flip, but yeah. Next up we have 2 Xerneas from Steam Siege. With the attack Geomancy, choose 2 of your bench Pokemon for each of those Pokemon. Search your deck for a Fairy Energy card and attach it to that Pokemon. Shuffle your deck afterwards. By this point you probably have worked out we're playing Fairy Energy. And it also has the attack Rainbow Spear for 100 damage, discard energy attached to this Pokemon. You try and avoid using Rainbow Spear, but it does end up happening at one point or another. You do end up using it. But yeah, play 2 Xerneas. And then my usual 1-1 of Remoraid and Auxiliary. Remoraid has the attack Wild River. Switches Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And the attack Water Gun. Does 20 damage. We don't use either of these attacks, or at least you try and avoid using them. Wild River, you do tend to use it if it's like up front and you can't get it out the active. But yeah. And we have Octillery with Abyssal Hand. Once during your turn, before your attack, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in hand. Sounds familiar? Sounds like Shaman to me personally, but it's just 1 card less. I understand Shaman is a basic Pokemon, and it is more draw, but it's one of the ones it's too expensive to get. I'm sorry, I am trying to get hold of it, but it's almost ridiculous. And we have the attack Hug. Again, we can't use it, but 40 damage for a 2 water on a colours. The defending Pokemon cannot retreat. So, again, is another way around it, but not a bad attack either. That actually, in another deck, quite a while ago now, that actually won me a game because they could not retreat. Next, we have 3 Shauna. I play Shauna over the other supporters, mainly because you want to be reshuffling your deck and drawing less cards than drawing more, because you burn through quite a lot of the deck with Xerneas. because you're searching your deck for fairy energies near enough the first 5 turns if you can get the setup you need. But there is 3 Shaunas, so you shove your hand into your deck, then draw 5. Makes it easier for artillery as well. But yeah, 3 Shauna. And we have 2 N. Each player shuffles his or her hands into his or her deck and draws a card. Shuffles their deck afterward. Shuffles the deck obviously, and then they draw a card for each prize card they have remaining. So you've got 6 prize cards remaining. You get 6. You get 4. You get 4. So on and so forth. If you're new to TCG, then this is fairly simple. If you want, I'll even hold it there so you can read it for yourself. In fact, I'll try the non-reverse. That's better. But yeah, the idea of the deck is to just keep reshuffling. It's not like I don't play Sycamore, but it's one of the cards you don't really want to be using. And I say that because you run into it every freaking game, no matter what. It never seems to end up prized. But anyway, next up we have Bridget. Search your deck for 1 basic Pokemon EX or 3 basic Pokemon except for Pokemon EX and put them onto your bench, shuffle your deck afterwards. It is really helpful because it helps get out of Fennekin, gets out of Xerneas, and gets out of Remoraid, gets out pretty much every Pokemon in the deck. Bar, Breaks, and Delphox, and Octillery. But it gets out the starters, so Fennekins, Remoraid, and so on. Without them, the deck wouldn't work, would it? Really. But yeah, let's just put this over here. But yeah, I run 2 Bridget, and I run 2 Skylar. Search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Again, without this card, this deck would be very clunky and would struggle greatly. I only play 2, I would prefer to play 3, but I couldn't find room for the 3rd, really, for all the other cards that you really need for this deck. But yeah, play 2 Skylar. I play 2 Lysander. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, his or her active Pokemon. Sounds like the Fennekin with Invite Out, but without the flip. And in support form. That's why I play 2 of the Invite Out Fennekin, because it basically gives you 4 Lysanders. Now 2 of those Lysanders may be a flip, but really it's quite helpful. Next up we have 1 Sycamore. Discard your hand and draw 7. I would prefer a full art. I'm trying to really pimp out this deck. As you can tell, I've got quite a few reverses for the deck. But yeah, you don't really want to be starting off with this or really running into it at all with this deck, really. You could do with taking it out, but I put it in just in case, really, more than anything. But yeah, I'll tell you now, for me, nearly every game I've run into this card and I have regretted running into it. Especially with it being the only draw supporter in hand at the time. But yeah, I play 1 Sycamore. I play 1 Ninja Boy. So, say you start off with a Remoraid and you get Ninja Boy the 2nd turn. Or you get... Yeah, you get Ninja Boy by your 2nd turn. You can Ninja Boy into Xerneas. And just keep Geomancying if you've got the Fennekin on the bench and so on. Again, Ninja Boy in this deck can also be quite essential, but you can take it out if you want. Next up is Pokemon Ranger. Remove all effects of attacks on each player and his or her Pokemon. Without this card, this deck would get obliterated by Glaceon. Simple there on out. Without this card, this deck would get obliterated by Glaceon. And also, what's it called? Giratina EX. Because if we get locked out of our stadiums and our special energies, it slows us down quite rapidly. Next up, we have Free Fairy Garden. Gives us that free retreat. And because we are running Fairy Energy, we don't really have to pay any retreat costs. Because Delphox's retreat cost is free. Breakson's is 2. Fennekin's is 1. Is Breakson 2? The Breakson is 1, sorry. But yeah, it's just one of the ones that saves us having to pay those retreat costs. And we run free because we want to be winning the Stadium War. Because a lot of decks these days are playing 2 to 3 stadiums. Maybe even 4 with some decks. But I play 3 of this stadium because I needed to put in at least 1 other stadium card. Mainly because without it this deck would, well, get obliterated by Rayquaza. And speaking of that card, we have Parallel City next. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this card, every Pokemon on the field that has a Fairy Energy attached to it, has no retreat cost. As I said, basically gives you free retreat. But anyway, moving on. Parallel City. Blue side. you reduce your bench or your opponent's bench by so they can only have up to 3 Pokemon on their bench. Red side reduces your damage by 20. Normally, you do want to be going that way with say for Mega Rayquaza, but you don't really want to be reducing your damage. It doesn't really make a difference. You can double that damage that you lose, but you'd rather be going that way for like Volcanion, Greninja, and so on. Just going to put this over here. Next up, we have, moving on to the item cards, obviously. Excuse me. 3 Rare Candy. Again, without this card, this deck would just die. The deck would die. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play, and evolve that Pokemon into its stage 2 if you have that card in hand. So basically, you'd have to have Delphox in hand with a Fennekin on the bench that's been out for more than 1 turn. You'd be able to Rare Candy it straight into the Delphox. So again, this card is very essential for this deck. I only play 3. Some people keep recommending that I play 4. I can't find space for the 4th Rare Candy. If you can, good on you, but I can't personally. Next up, we have 3 Ultra Ball. Because we can't get Delphox out with Level Ball or anything, or Xerneas, we have to resort to Ultra Ball. Now, this card works greatly with Rare Candy because it enables us to get Delphox out if we have Rare Candy in hand and we have the necessary cards to do it. Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards in hand. If you cannot discard 2 cards, you cannot use this card. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. So yeah, I do memorise some cards. Moving on, we have 3 Level Ball. Gets out every card in the deck bar Delphox and Xerneas. Simple, innit? Well, every Pokemon in the deck, I should say, yeah. Gets out Vendiking, gets out Braixen, gets out Octillery and Remoraid. So it helps you get that set up early on in the game. If you don't know what the card actually says word for word, it's search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck afterwards. Next up we have 2 Fairy Drop. Because we're running Fairy Energy, Fairy Drop enables us to heal and save our lives on quite a few occasions. Say for example you've just been hit by a Greninja, not Greninja, say you've just been hit by Volcanion, and you're left with, basically, if you heal 50 HP, he has to 2-shot you again. Right? You play Fairy Drop, and that basically enables you to last another 2 turns. But again, it is very situational, and you end up... You can run into it at stupid times, but it can be helpful. By the way, it says on the card, heal 50 damage from one of your Pokemon that has any Fairy Energy attached to it. Next up, we have 1 Super Rod. Shuffle with 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. I do, and I would rather play... what's we call it? Karen with this deck, and I will do when I get a hold of it. And users know about it because I'll do a opening on it. But Super Rod will be getting replaced with Karen when I get a hold of one, that is. Because I have another way to get my energies back. But I'll play 1 Super Rod, 1 Special Charge, so shuffle out back in any special energies. Just going to put this here. And I play 1 Energy Recycler. This shuffles 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile back into your deck, so it enables you to keep using Xerneas if you're about to use Sycamore early on in the game. And finally, we get to the energy counts. I've run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Fairy Energy. Ooh. And 4 DCEs. Now, with all this damage here, there is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. There's 360 damage with all this energy here. With just your energy alone, if you can get it all out into play, there's 360 damage. Right off, if you can get it all out in play by your 5th turn. And bear in mind, you're also counting your opponent's damage, so you can do up to... Online with this deck, I have done up to 700 damage to a Mega Mewtwo EX. And that's not applying weakness, because obviously Mega Mewtwo isn't weak to fire. Without this deck, without the energy in this deck, or the energy in your opponent's deck, this deck will die, obviously. Now, this deck does hit snags when you run into an older deck, and it isn't expanded now, but Poliwag and Poliwhirl. Also, it would run into a snag with Mega Break. Because, obviously, Mega has the ability to, if you have 4 cards in hand, you can attack for free, basically. But yeah, this deck, I love it to pieces. I built it completely by accident, I'll be honest with you. I was messing about with some cards online, and I had the idea, I put it together, and then, whammy, I got this. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of the video, leave in the comment section down the bottom what you want the series to be called, because I have thought of every name, and near enough every name has been taken by other YouTubers. So, yeah. I will see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.